Alright guys, Wes here, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about Elden Ring's DLC, The Shadow of the Erdtree. So as you know, Elden Ring was one of the biggest games of the decade, both in terms of copies sold and influence on the industry. Everyone kind of knows that this game is going to be held up as the gold standard of mature open world game design for years to come, and From Software totally deserves the praise. Not only did they perfectly translate the Dark Souls formula to an open world setting, but they also crafted a rich and organic universe that really was unlike any other fantasy RPG I've ever played, and I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us for the expansion. But now the biggest question comes to mind: when is the DLC actually coming out? What do we know about Shadow of the Erdtree, and when can we expect to see more of it? So in today's video, we're going to go over everything that we know about Shadow of the Erdtree and when FromSoft is likely going to start showing off trailers, promo material, and of course our first look at gameplay. So in case you somehow missed it all this time, Shadow of the Erdtree was announced back in February and is going to be the first paid DLC for Elden Ring, which of course first launched in February of 2022. The game quickly became one of the best-selling RPGs of all time, surpassing 12 million copies in just 2 weeks, and by the time it hit its first anniversary, that number had jumped all the way up to 20 million copies. The excellent gameplay and fascinating world were huge selling points for Elden Ring, and it continues to have the same long-term staying power that most From Software games have enjoyed over the last decade and a half. So naturally, the internet went crazy when the first paid expansion was officially confirmed, and since then, we've learned quite a bit from unofficial leaks and rumors. According to inside sources, Shadow of the Erdtree was originally going to be 2 different expansions, but they eventually merged into one giant expansion. So this expansion is going to be a huge deal when it comes out, and it's going to introduce a ton of content, probably even more than some full price games launch with nowadays. From Software is known for having pretty big paid DLC, but if the rumors about Shadow of the Erdtree are indeed real, this is going to be their biggest one yet, and I'm super excited to see how it expands upon the gameplay and of course the open world map. Will it add more locations to the map? Where will the story take place in reference to the main quest? And just how many hours is it going to take to see everything that the expansion has to offer? There is so much hype around this DLC, and we don't even know when it's coming out, which is actually pretty insane to think about. This DLC has more hype than a lot of major game releases do, but I guess that's just the From Software effect in action. Now, despite the hype surrounding this expansion, From Software hasn't said much about it, which is totally fair, you know, since they just launched a brand new game with Armored Core 6, but now that AC6 is out in the wild, the team is likely shifting their full focus to Shadow of the Erdtree and preparing for the next step in Elden Ring's epic journey. Now, it was recently suggested at a financial meeting that From Software's parent company intends on supporting Elden Ring for at least a few more years, and the upcoming paid DLC is likely just the first part of that plan. But everyone involved with the game is obviously taking this IP seriously, and I'm guessing we should hear something about the DLC by the end of this year, which is the perfect segue to our next topic of discussion. When are we going to get the reveal trailer for Shadow of the Erdtree, and are we going to get some gameplay sometime soon? Well, I do have some theories to work off of and some speculation, so let's go ahead and get into it. So first, we have the big event, the Game Awards this year, which is typically a great way for major game publishers to get a ton of hype generated super quickly with their upcoming projects. The Game Awards is currently scheduled for December 7th, and it's going to feature a ton of awards as well as a whole bunch of trailers and announcements for the next year or two of AAA gaming. Assuming From Software is planning on releasing Shadow of the Erdtree in early 2024, which I think is a fair estimated release window, dropping a trailer at the Game Awards would be a great way to get everyone talking about it. Plus, Elden Ring won Game of the Year at the 2022 Game Awards, which is amazing, but if you guys remember back in 2021, we got a big Elden Ring cinematic trailer during that event, so I think it's safe to say that the folks over at From Software and Jeff Keighley have a good working relationship, so it would totally make sense for them to reveal Shadow of the Erdtree during the Game Awards. Basically, my theory is that if From Software is planning on releasing Shadow of the Erdtree in early 2024, they're more than likely going to drop a trailer during the Game Awards for 2023. Now, on the other side of the coin, it's entirely possible that From Software is going to surprise everybody and drop a trailer at the upcoming PlayStation State of Play that's been rumored for months now. After the 2 extremely lackluster PlayStation showcases this year, Sony is in desperate need of a banger event to prove that they still deserve to be on the top of the console war. Spider-Man 2 is obviously dropping in October, and it will surely be a big sales success, but I feel like PlayStation fans need more to get excited for, and a good way for them to do that would be to drop the trailer for Shadow of the Erdtree during the next PlayStation event. Obviously, Sony doesn't have anything personally to do with the development of Elden Ring or its expansion, but it would be a great way to get eyes on PlayStation, and it would be a great marketing move if the trailer was shown off alongside some great first-party content. And let's be honest, these PlayStation showcases get a ton of live viewership, so the initial hype would be insane. On top of that, From Software has a good relationship with Sony, and there's a lot of overlap between PlayStation fans and From Software fans. The remake of Demon's Souls is one of the best first-party PlayStation 5 games on the market, and Sony helped fund Bloodborne, arguably the best From Software game to date. Ultimately, my theory is that if From Software is shooting for a late 2023 release window for Shadow of the Erdtree, I could totally see them releasing at whatever upcoming PlayStation event comes next, whether it's a State of Play or something bigger. However, if From Software is planning on a 2024 release date for this DLC, I wouldn't expect to see a trailer before the Game Awards in December. The DLC was announced all the way back in February, so I think a release date is completely up in the air at this current time, and there probably won't be much time between the trailer and the late launch. But at the end of the day, I'm expecting there to be a trailer by the end of the year at one of those two showcases. Now, recently there's been some concerns about how well the Elden Ring DLC is going to perform, given the fact that the base game is coming up on its 2-year anniversary, and for a primarily single-player game, that's a pretty late DLC launch. But even though most games release their paid expansions within the 12 months of their run, Elden Ring, however, is in a pretty unique situation because not only is it a From Software game, but it's also still doing amazing in terms of ongoing sales and player counts. According to Steam charts, Elden Ring still averages over 25,000 concurrent players at any given time on PC, and according to the Xbox Live Store charts, Elden Ring is still in the top 40, putting it above games like Sea of Thieves, Warframe, and MLB The Show. Now I'd like to expand on a recent report from the Kadokawa Company, one of the investors of From Software, which could give us an idea of what the future holds for Elden Ring. So in early August, the Kadokawa Company released their quarterly report, which was made public, and it revealed some interesting information about what From Software has planned for Elden Ring. Now, according to the report, Elden Ring sales have decreased, which isn't really surprising considering the game's been out for a year and a half. But shortly after highlighting this, the report goes into the outlook for the second quarter and beyond, and that's where things get pretty interesting. The report goes into what's planned for Elden Ring and the newly released Armored Core 6, but it talks about Elden Ring first, suggesting that maintaining the fantasy RPG is either of higher or equal importance to releasing new games entirely. What's really interesting about this is that the report states that various measures are currently in progress for Elden Ring, including the development of a major DLC to maximize lifetime value. This makes it pretty explicit that there is more in the pipeline for Elden Ring than the upcoming expansion Shadow of the Erdtree. As for what that could be, there's a few theories. Some have suggested that this could be the long-rumored boss rush mode, or possibly adding back some content that was cut during production, like something small enough that could come with a free content patch instead of a major DLC. Some have even suggested that some kind of randomizer for better replay value, or maybe some other gameplay additions inspired by the modding community. Now, it is also possible that this could be in reference to future merchandising as a way to keep the public's eye on Elden Ring without adding anything to the game itself. There were also recent reports about a Dark Souls anime series going into production for Netflix, so it's entirely possible that there may be something similar going on for Elden Ring, which could actually be a better idea since George R.R. Martin created such a rich world for the game that seems ripe for an expansion in other avenues. Next up, I'd like to talk about some theories regarding Shadow of the Erdtree's overall setting and story. This image is the only thing we've had to work off of in terms of Shadow of the Erdtree that is officially released by From Software. Obviously, there's been a lot of cut content and references inside the game files on where we could go for the DLC. The best theory that I've seen so far regarding this initial image is it's actually taking place in Miquella's dream. So if we reference this article right here on Games Radar, and it says this, and I quote, "As expected, the internet is already ablaze with DLC theories on what's and where's and how's of the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, with some suggesting that the horseback character is young Marika, Queen Marika, the Eternal, the reigning divine sovereign of the lands between. Others say that it's Miquella, but that he's now awoken from his slumber, and that the world depicted in the image is how things look after the base game's Age of the Dustborn ending. They then said I'm not sold on that either, but instead subscribe to the idea that this is Miquella's dream, an isolated world that lets us explore Miquella's storyline without impacting anything that we've already experienced in Elden Ring," which honestly I think makes the most sense. They wouldn't want to impede on the story of Elden Ring already, so having a dream world would be the perfect middle ground. Definitely curious to hear what your guys' theories and thoughts are on this. Is it a dream, and who is writing on torrent? Let me know down below. I think it's safe to say that From Software is a force to be reckoned with, and if they release anything, people are going to show up for it. Not only does Elden Ring have a massive player base that's actively still playing the game and surely will buy the DLC when it's released, but there is an entire legion of people who bought the game a while ago and will surely reinstall it once again once the new content is added. Plus, there's still tons of additional players who haven't played Elden Ring at all, but will surely buy it once the expansion comes out so they can finally see what they've been missing out of. So yes, 2 years after launch, it's a bit late to release a paid expansion for a game like this, but with how popular Elden Ring continues to be month to month, From Software could probably wait another 6 months for their expansion and it would still sell like crazy. This studio simply doesn't miss, and millions of people will show up for the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC regardless of when it comes out. But yeah guys, that's gonna wrap it up with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on Shadow of the Erdtree. Are you excited to play it? When do you think we're gonna get the official reveal and release date? Down in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on. Hit the like button, and until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.